major, and you want to just demonstrate major components in major components, the components that are assembled together to produce what we call an internal combustion engine. Of course, we know the major component of the engine. We start with the crankshaft. That's the crankshaft. The crankshaft is the main shaft of the engine. It is the one that is driven by the pistons and the connecting rods. And the major parts of the crankshaft, this one we call it a crankshaft flange, and we've got the crankshaft main journals. The main journals, they are arranged in a straight line, they occur in a straight line, and we have the crank pins. These are the crank pins. Normal crank pin. So my piston head are attached to the crank pins, and the pistons will be driving the crank pins in order to roll the crankshaft. So the major function of the crankshaft is to convert the up and down motion of the pistons to rotary motion. This is what you call the crankshaft flange. In the crankshaft flange, dokunenge kune flywheel. Then per flywheel, papo no mount you at the clutch assembly. Then this side, that is where we are going to have a crankshaft gear, timing gear, and crankshaft pulleys. That's the 9 driving end of the engine. 9 driving end of the engine. Then there is a Woodruff key which retains the pulley in place, so that the pulley can roll the belts in order to drive other accessories like your alternators, your water pumps, and other things that may require the engine's drive in order for them to operate. The aircon included. Looking at this crankshaft, it's obviously coming from a 4-cylinder engine because we've got 1, 2, 3, 4 crank pins. Okay, I think where the crankshaft is concerned, we agree with that one. Then the other main shaft of the engine is the camshaft. We have the camshaft. The function of the camshaft is to drive the valves so that they open and close at the right time. The camshaft is precisely grounded so that it can drive the valves at the right time, in the right sequence. As you can see, each and every valve is driven by a lobe which is appropriately shaped and positioned on the shaft to open the valve at the right time. The camshaft is normally placed on the cylinder head, and it is part and parcel of the valve operating gear. Like on this cylinder head, this is where the camshaft is supposed to be located. Camshaft ready nenge ipa msoro pana ichipusha ma valves through my bucket type tappets so that the valves can open and close at the right time. On this cylinder head, we normally have a double camshaft. One camshaft for the inlet valves, the other camshaft for the exhausts. I think, as you can see, inlet manifold, exhaust manifold. Saka izvo zvinobva zvangu identify chi ma valves edu according. And ma valves are ku side kunoko. The valves on this side, these are the inlet valves because they receive fresh air fuel charge from the fuel system, and they will then admit it into the combustion chamber where it's going to be compressed and then ignited. After combustion, the waste products of combustion are then going to be exhausted out of the combustion chamber through the open exhaust valves, which are on this side and adjacent to the exhaust manifold. So it is on the cylinder head that we are going to have a camshaft, and the camshaft is driven. By it can be driven by a chain. There are 3 ways in which camshafts are driven. I think you remember correctly. There are 3 ways in which camshafts are driven. There is the chain, like the one that we have over here. There is the belt. We can have a belt instead of the chain. We can also have gears, direct drive between gears. The crankshaft gear and camshaft gear can be made to drive, can be made to transmit drive between themselves directly without the need for a chain or a belt in between them. And this one to set up. So as a general rule, the camshaft normally rotates at half the crankshaft speed. By half the crankshaft speed, crankshaft rotates at 3,000 revolutions per minute. Camshaft rotates at what? 1,500 revolutions per minute. That is the setup. Normally, that is attained by making sure that the camshaft gear really twice the size of the crankshaft gear. Kana ili camshaft gear crankshaft gear in half the diameter which one revolution of the camshaft is equal to 2 revolutions of the what? Of the crankshaft. Do set up Then on the cylinder head, we also have an extension of the cooling system. As you can see through this spot, I'm sure that is where the thermostat was removed. That's the cooling system. You can see the rust in this section. So the cooling system is also extended into the cylinder head to absorb whatever heat that may turn it around. You can see you can actually see my sections are remolded within this. These are part and parcel of the cooling system. My water jackets are extend achipinda neku cylinder head. And kurova kuti coolant yedu paino circulator ichibva ku block kwekwe, it will also enter the what? The cylinder head. And all the heat generated due to combustion and absorbed by the cylinder head is going to be lost or absorbed by the coolant and then dissipated at the radiator and the cooling system. So this one is also integrated in the cooling system. So the cylinder head also carries my water jackets for cooling. And coolant also passes through the cylinder head. Then this is of course a temperature sensor. That's a temperature sensor which may be used to operate the gauges, supply information for engine management systems and others. And temperature sensor. It's incorporated into the cooling system. Chirimo cooling system chinenge chichi monitor engine temperature to operate the gauge for instruments and to supply the engine management system with temperature information for it to calculate correct quantities of what? Of fuel. Then in between the cylinder head and the block, we have a head gasket. Head gasket. This is a thin metal sheet which is placed in between the head and the block to create a gas tight, oil tight joint between the head and the block. Because if we have any leakage here, gas, kana kuti oil, kana kuti coolant, that would mean that the engine may be damaged or poor performance depending on whatever is happening. So no gases should cross over into the coolant or into the lubricating system. Apana magasi anofanira kuti gasi rinofanira kulika richiinda kune imwe system isiri where it does not belong. Right? So we are supposed to have a gas tight seal, a water tight seal, an oil tight seal, so that each and every one of these things is retained in its channel or section per header. Coolant inofanira kungofambira ma water jackets, oil ichifambira ma oilways. Magases aya achicompresswa ari pai, compresswa ari muma cylinders. They should not leak to the outside. Magases aya hafaniri kulika ubva abuda oenda kunze. They should only be retained ari mukati. Okay. So the head gasket is very important. Kazhinji kacho head gasket is normally damaged if the engine overheats. engine ika overheat gasket iri damage because kamwe material aka made of organic kind of material or soft material. It's normal if it is overheated, cannot damage. That as a result will lead to leakages, the oil or gas or compressed gases or something. So that the head gasket should be retained really in good working order at all times. Can you see wear and tear? Wear and tear. Generally speaking, I wear and tear. The deterioration of condition of moving parts due to friction. But my components are in frictional contact. They normally weigh down due to the friction between them. So in order to reduce wear and tear, like we've always said, of course we lubricate the what? We lubricate the system. To lubricate our systems. Alright. Then this is the block. This is the block. Block ready in the video. Can you remove this? Which is safe about? Can you remove this? Which is safe? Usachiradzika tinofanira kuramba takangogara neside. Yes, that way. Okay. This is the block. Kazhinji kacho on this type of car paCRV this is part of the crankcase. Crankshaft yedu inenge iri crankshaft yedu inenge iri mounted ipapa when iri clamped in between this other section of the crankcase to the block. Saka function yeblock takaitawo takati block redu ndo rinotakura mapistons. As you can see, aya ndo mabig ends ema-connecting rods makani. Then mukati mapiston edu acho rimo, mukati mapiston edu acho rimo. Saka block redu ndo rinotakura mapiston. Block redu ndo rine ma water jackets. The block also has my oil waste for lubrication. The block also carries other components, like in this case, we do have an oil filter. Each oil filter is block of Tibaba. So lubricant yes is filtered through this. The clean oil is circulated through the system. So then also my mountings the engine are attached to the block. Unfortunately on this one the mountings were removed, but it is also one important function of the block. In this case, this block is made of aluminium, which is a lightweight metal. The whole idea behind is to make sure that the engine is lightweight but just as strong. But my cylinder sleeves are they are not made of aluminium. They are made of an alloy steel. Steel really mixed with other metals for hardness and toughness. So as you can see, block redu rakamoldwa nealuminium first, ndobva pazoinsetwa ma-alloy steel sleeves mukati. Ma-pistons edu aya move up and down inside ma-alloy steel sleeves. Then around those sleeves we have a water jacket for the absorption of heat and the movement of coolant. When it comes to pistons, I'm sure we are familiar with pistons. Major components of the piston assembly: the connecting rod, which has got a small end and a big end, by gas division. The piston itself is a crown, piston wings, piston skirts, and whatever. That I'm sure you're familiar with. But however, if you look at this piston that we have in this, there's some piston in really a recess. This is a recess. You remember to tell us this recess is what we refer to as the combustion chamber. All the gases that are in this sleeve are compressed and then confined to this recess. then a spark is delivered. Spark inobva yakwenyu mukagomba ikako kari pamusoro pepiston. Then the explosion which is going to take place, or the combustion that's going to take place, causes a sudden increase in temperature, and that temperature increase is going to cause a powerful downward thrust on the piston, which is transmitted to the crankshaft there at the bottom, and the crankshaft is then rolled to transmit the drive onwards to the transmission system and to the road grips. Then motor will out to say, that's on the block. Alright. We then come on to these things. For each in the cheap pitch, someone to explain. Sam, what is the function of the sum? Pastor, the sum in for oil. Saka, it's the storage for the oil. Some bread is the storage for the oil. The oil is stored in there and drawn out of there. Drawn out of there, it's going to circulate through the oil system, and it will then lubricate all the moving parts of the suspension. For some, let's check on this one. On this one, we have nothing right, but we are supposed to. Yeah, we are supposed to have it. Rain plug. Rain plug. That is. Rain plug. What purpose does it serve? Now let's just read or review the process. Let's review the process. How do we renew oil? Oil during a service, during a routine service. To no change oil is saying my steps. What are the steps that we are supposed to follow in renewing my oil? I'm rather than Papa Jews and oh, okay, it's okay. Yeah, Sakatiripanya, you renew my oil. Yeah, I think you are the one who explained it last time.
No, I am not.
Oh, right, the other lady. Yes. All right. Sakamutiri kurangarira here zvavakataura kuti tinorenewa oil sei.
Akati zvonizvo mota inotanga yarana then obva aisa paflat obva wavhura ichi handizoziva kuti chinonzi chii apa pana sambo
chinofanira kunge chiri apa chauri kutsvaka chofanira kunge chiri apo chakanzi chizvya chakanzi chidrain plug andiyo then kana chida kuita fill up the what? Fill up the engine with new oil. How do we go about it?
No feel like oil filter. Then no be oil. Or change that.
Tochinja chi?
Chiwasha chiapa.
Tobva taita renew chiwasha chepadrain plug. Oil filter inoiswa new one. So that new oil filter, you fill it up with oil first, then fit it on to its place, renew that washer on the drain plug, then fill up with oil, regularly testing the dipstick. And delay or test the dipstick, kushuka pari normal. Generally, don't overfill the oil. Overfill. The mere fact that you've got more oil than what your engine requires does not make it automatic mandatory for you to fill up a 3 liter engine, 5 liters. Even increase the consumption in oil, oil fouling, normal problems. The best I can see is that's the basic point. Okay. We may be able to. You can come and repeat what you are doing here for the rest of the other guys to see for themselves how pistons move up and down during piston number 1 and 4. So piston number 1 and 4 are down, while piston number 2 and 3 are going up. I still remember we discussed this, but what were we talking about? Wasted spark. Wasted spark pipe. Tine coil inofaya mu 1 nemu 4. Toita imwe coil inofaya mu 2 nemu 3. Kana tifaya mu 1 tiri kuwesta mu 4. Kana tifaya mu 4 tiri kuwesta mu 1. The same applies nekupi nemu cylinder number 2 and 3. Then your firing order remains the same. 1, 3, 4 and 2. But at whatever point when a certain cylinder is on power, its partner cylinder will be wasted. You understand it? Now, this sort of arrangement or this sort of sequence, you put in my piston head 1 and 4, 2 and 3, and move together in the same direction, but in the opposite direction from the other chain. Basically, what causes this? Nemagai is just a but you put piston 1 and 4, you put 2 and 3, I repeat.
I think in your arrangements, the crank
the shape of the crankshaft. Anyway, the shape of the crankshaft is what causes this sort of movement. So a shape of the crankshaft will not determine even the firing order. The firing order, even in line with movement, piston, of which this movement of the pistons is determined by the crankshaft. So the operation name of valves, determine the same order. And order determine the movement name of valves. So the shape of crankshaft is an important factor. You determine even valve timing, ignition timing, and other factors related to the force stroke side. Other factors related to the force stroke side. So that's basically on the operation engine on a mount cylinder engine. So per mount cylinder engine, mount cylinder engine it's an inline engine. For my configuration, design in my engine. This is what you call an inline engine. The other alternative types are the other 2 alternative types that we discussed. Other than the inline engine, the arrangement is different. Horizontally opposed. And you put in my piston head anenge ari at 180 degrees to each other. Saka tinoto design chiblock chokuti tine macylinder mamwe 2 ari chineche uko kuma cylinder 2 neche. Then the other one is the V engine. V engine anenge ari offset at an angle. But they roughly make a letter V. So kuti crankshaft anenge in between, and the crankshaft will be in between my pistons and agita thrust onto the crankshaft from the sides. What we say is the advantage of the V arrangement, V engine, advantage of the engine.
More power.
A higher power output for the same size inline engine. Though the advantage of the engine. Power output is high. Same size, same capacity, but per V engine, you know when you have power. What are the advantages? takati iri more compact. Compact kana tichi compact tiri in terms of size kana iri inline engines yezvibheri chinhu chakareba reba izvi unoona bonnet remota yedu dai rinoda kuti tizogadzirwa rine space yakakura to accommodate something large but with a relatively low power output. But kana iri V engine kana iri V engine we've got my cylinders are within a very within a limited space, but those cylinders will give us more power than would otherwise be the case when we are arranging the line. So it is more compact and it produces a higher power output. So it's not going to be a motor kamotor kakadika izvo inenge iri V engine iri 8 cylinder V8 it's possible and there is sufficient space for you to fit in a V8 engine Mazda unozoiona papa performance yemota this cannot be a 4-cylinder engine nekuti inenge chinyatorova saka it's more compact, very much more powerful. But of course, it's complex. Arrangement actually is complex, and sometimes it's very difficult, especially when you have the timing. The timer, it's not as simple as is the case. You can still timer my valves. Valve timing actually is more complex and difficult. And my firing orders actually are unique and different due to the intervals. So, we are going to do my major components. What you're supposed to know now, each and every component should be able to identify it by name and by function. Each and every component should be identifiable by name and by function. So, I think you set up to identify my components. Set up to identify my components by name and by function. But before we come back for that small exercise where we are going to identify them by name and by function, we're going to try engine yapo pachambo iona yakapatana. Like
Handi. Famba kacha maruru ufana ubuditsa mpunu. Handi.
Manis.
identify my components ngatione pane sample ngatinongedzei pane oil filter ngatinongedzei pane block
Vara kamera.
okay ngatinongedzai pane inlet manifold him inlet manifold inlet manifold that's the inlet manifold ngatinongedzai pane cylinder head ngatinongedzai pane flywheel head chati function yeflywheel head Ndofambisa machisi ko iri paipi nherei inobva apa kudai
yemvura.
ndere ukangoti mvura manje ka some of us will get lost. Kana pari some of us tinobva tatorasika kungotora mvura totofunga yekanzuro dzichikuda mention state these things by their actual technical names. Coolant ukati mvura tinorasika. Musikana uyu ari kubvunza kuti chinoshandei chifly
chinotendedza crankshaft
chinoengeja
Chinobatwa nini?
chinoengeja starter motor or rather the pinion so that the drive the starter motor can be transmitted to the crankshaft. Okay. During cranking, the starter is rolling the flywheel. Flywheel roller crankshaft. Crankshaft will drive on pistons, nema camshaft. And then the 4-stroke cycle kickstarts. And
you need to normal camshaft.
It's single camshaft. This one is a single camshaft. Oh, exhaust manifold. Can you read it? Exhaust manifold. Yaonekwa here exhaust manifold. Saka pane imwe part yasati yaonera ko apa nepapa. Saka patinodira napo oil ndipo. Babu.
Can you believe that the company fees?
Panoita sei? Hanzi ndikeya. Akakanda tine manual eHonda 50%. Akakanda tine manual eHonda 50% ndikeya. Asi pamaHonda 50 ese karipo. Karipo haumbo kashaipo. Karipo, but I think we need to check the manual eHonda 50%. Saka eko ichi muri kundwenga kune nyaya yenyu chaipo ichi chii section ipi yelumu takataura paya tikati lumu takatobata seizvo zviri kutaura rega ndere pai engine compartment. Let's be specific which components are connected nelumu. Ma components are
injectors. Pane ma injectors.
Ukatarisisa anoita kunge ma-injectors. Panofanwa vane ma-coil packs. Anofanwa ma-coil packs. So the engine, it illuminates engine. It's an engine loop. Remember engine functions. Injection. Alright. I am illuminate engine. No batenza ma coil packs ni ma engine. You can switch.